'cause every time he pulls me near, I just wanna cheer. Let's hear it for the boys.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portress, and joining me today, calling him an a-hole is an insult to a-holes everywhere, Sweet Chauncey Kovacs from the internet.
I also did a lot of butt stuff.
And just wait till you see what he has in store for the Vaught Talent Show, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and you're a right. See you next Tuesday, Adam.
Oh, aren't you just the cleverest of boys? Let me tell you, this week is going to be a tough one, everybody, because
yes, it is.
This is a family-friendly show here at Hero Movie Podcast. 8 years ago when we...
Do you think okay, so yes, it's going to be tough, but if ever there's an episode that gives us a little leeway to screw up, like, do you think anybody has their kids in the back seat and they say, "Oh, let's listen to them talk about the boys"?
I would hope not, for their sake. I think a lot of our listeners are a very bunch of intelligent people who, and many of them have told us, yes, we listen to the podcast in the car with their kids and stuff, and that's good. Your kids should not be listening to this episode, nor should they be watching any season of The Boy, let alone
and
season 3.
Definitely not watching The Boys. Definitely they should not be watching that.
They also maybe shouldn't read the comics.
But
There's
definitely
some
not.
graphic pictures.
And not for
Definitely
nothing though,
not.
but there's a couple of dirty babies going through middle school that have been watching The Boys.
Are
and
you kidding me?
That are all about it.
This is absolutely
It's the kind of thing-
a dirty baby show.
It's like Sean, when we were kids and we would brag about having seen Porky's.
For me, it was Revenge of the Nerds. But yes, I know what you mean.
Same idea.
Yes.
Well, now they brag about watching the boys.
Oh,
Well,
I'm
this
sure.
is a little bit beyond Porky and Revenge of the Nerds. I'll tell you that much. But we'll get
Or
to
Porky's Revenge.
Porky's Revenge. Sounds like a good flick. I'd watch that.
I think that was the third one or the second one. No, the third one. The second one was the next day, and Porky's Revenge was the third one.
Welcome to Porky's 30 Questions. I'm your host. Speaking of which, The Boys, the first 2 seasons, we did our 30 Questions show. Was The Boys the first thing we did a 30 Questions on? Or no?
No, it was
That was Watchmen.
Redford administration.
That was Watchmen, and then this was the one that was after that, right? I don't know.
I want to say it's The
timelines anymore.
Mandalorian. was
Yeah, I feel like the
probably next.
Mandalorian came next.
Okay, there's too many things. We do too many
There's
things.
a lot of things, buddy.
But we have so many things on our plate with this and Obi-Wan 30 questions and stuff like that to do another 30 question show. Our time is very limited, but that doesn't mean that we are not going to be watching these things. So today we're going to be covering the first 3 episodes of The Boys Season 3, which dropped all at once in your big old laps for you this week, and that's a fun thing.
I thought it was just 3 episodes.
That's what
3
is
episodes,
that what
yeah.
I said?
No, you said all of it dropped.
All 3 is what I meant.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
It sounded like you said all season 3.
All 3 of okay. All right. So I screwed up. All right.
Oh man, listen.
I'll edit it out later. You know that's not true. But anyways, before we get to all that stuff, though, we do want to say a big thank you to the people that support us over at patreon.com/HMP. Those fine folks get pre-show, post-show, and of course a Dinger Zone. This week on the Dinger Zone, we talk all about comic book conventions and that kind of stuff. It's pretty sweet. And since it is the top of the month here, we do want to say a big shout out to the top dogs of all of them coming in at this $40 level here. We've got Derrick, Tim, and Matthew. And coming in at the $20 level, we got Dave Fakeloni, Noah Overton, Jens, Brian Z, Jessica Berry, Nate King Solomon's Frog, and Alex. And there may be a couple other that Patreon didn't quite catch with that. But a big giant thank you to all of you guys. Just remember, this show disappears. What would you do to get it back? Just put that in a dollar form, head on over to Patreon, and at the exact same time, get yourself more content. We are here for you, and we love you, and we're glad that you love us. And I did say this earlier, as I wanted a couple of some shout-outs and stuff, and so I've got one here, actually, from our good buddy, Noah of the Dark Woods.
Oh.
And he's written in, he says, hello, Adam, Sean, and Bruce. Oh, wait, I should do this. It's been a minute.
Bale's here.
Been too long since we had that one. Hello, Adam, Sean, and Bruce. First off, I wanted to say how much I've enjoyed HMP for about the last year. I found the show when searching for podcasts talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990 in my research for my own podcast called How We Sees It. That's SEEZ. it. Where with my best friend and sometime guest, we discuss movies and shows and come up with some kind of cocktail or drink to pair with them. Something right up my alley. And I know that there are tons of podcasts out there, and if you can find one that you truly enjoy, you have won. And that brings me back to HMP. After that TMNT episode, I have continued to listen to all the new ones and gone back and listened to many of the older ones as well. I have joined the Patreon for those Dinger Zones and pre and post shows. You guys have become my number one podcast, hands down, as well as all of the 30 question podcasts. I really wanted to let you know that you guys do an incredible job, and if my little podcast can even be as close as good, I will be overjoyed. I guess if How We Sees It can be that dirty baby version of the podcast for HMP, then my job is done here. Thank you. That's from Noah of the Dark Woods, a.k.a. Hardwired. And check out his podcast. It's pretty good. He's got like a good episode of Big Lebowski is the most recent one and everything. They got some good stuff over there. Go check them out, guys.
I definitely will.
You don't have to be a dirty baby. You can just be needs a little bit of cleaning.
Yeah, a little behind the ears baby, as we were. So if you want to do just like Noah or any of the other members, head on over to patreon.com/HMP. Support this show. Get yourself some more stuff in the meantime, and we really appreciate that. Let's get into it. Here is the trailer for The Boys Season 3.
So, let me say it again, Cam. I may be a superhero, but I'm also just a man who fell in love with the wrong woman. Just a man who fell for the wrong woman. Fell for the wrong woman. But out of crisis comes change. Out of crisis comes change. So I spent the last year really slowing down and reconnecting with myself. And I am very excited for everyone to meet the real me.
There's something wrong with Homelander. There's something broken. He's lost his mind.
Love, Mommy, Daddy, and Amu. Hey, yo!
We've been on the straight and narrow all year. No killing Soups, no drinking. Even follow Hugh Campbell's orders without strangling him.
Now you're just being cruel.
Or maybe you're not such.
People have superpowers.
But real power isn't this. It's the ability to bend the world to your will.
Alrighty, that was the trailer for Season 3 of The Boys. You know what time it is.
It's time for Bruce's Comic Book Connection.
This one should be good because I don't think we ever technically got one because we did The Boys as a 30 question show. Bruce, what do you got?
So, The Boys, an irreverent comic if ever there was one. I don't even know where to start, but I guess we need to cover the basics in case there are any listeners who aren't already in the know. But The Boys, well, it's written by Garth Ennis, and it started out at Wildstorm Comics, but when DC acquired Wildstorm, they said, nuh-uh, we don't want anything to do with The Boys. So The Boys moved to Dynamite Comics. And Wee Huey, he was based on Simon Pegg and drawn to look like Simon Pegg. And that's why it's cool that Simon Pegg plays Wee Huey's father on the Amazon Prime show. And those are like the two basic bits of trivia that are always thrown around about The Boys. So go have fun with that. In Season 3 of The Boys on Prime, Butcher's given a superpower serum. I think it's called V24. But he already has a serum like this in the beginning of the comics. And I believe we get to see him use it by issue number 5 when the boys are fighting a sort of B-level superhero team and they inject a super serum and absolute Ennis level over-the-top violence ensues. Now, the name of this super team they're fighting is Teenage Kicks. And in Butcher's words, they give him a spanking. So Butcher headbutts a guy and breaks his nose. And Mother's Milk caves in a Judge Dredd lookalike's face with a right hook. And the female shoves her thumbs into a Lady Wolverine clone's eye sockets. Then Butcher calls a Thundercat the B word and throws him into a Mohawk punk who's also a B word. And then, of course, Butcher grabs another guy by the family jewels. And by that, I mean the nuts, in order to keep him from flying away. So, like, imagine it. A guy's trying to fly away and Butcher's holding him by his nuts so he can't get away without tearing his nuts off. And of course, Wee Huey punches a guy clean through the abdomen and he kills someone for the first time. And he doesn't do very well with that fact. Now, here's where things get really Garth, guys. Okay, can you handle it?
I'll try.
You see the guy that Huey killed, and he's lying face down on the pavement, and a gerbil crawls out of his, let's just say it crawls out of his gear, as in Richard.
Oh.
But wait, there's more. Huey adopts the gerbil, and I think he names it Jings. And yeah, that's probably the issue that made DC take a pass on the boys. And speaking of gerbils in uncommon places, Adam, do you have a list?
I do. If this comic connection wasn't enough for everybody, let me sell you on this Amazon exclusive because this sucker's got everything. We got a Zack Snyder style movie opener, Vought Plus, the red carpet. A-Train is back. You gotta love A-Train. Oddly enough, Tony Gilroy talk, which I just found absolutely hilarious. My favorite kung fu movie, Enter the Wang. Oddly enough, not my first time seeing something like that. Girls wearing makeup to bed. Billy Joel, my birthday buddy, Malcolm Barrett. Huey learned how to dress. We got heroes talking. Connect 4 awkward birthday parties. Juan Carlo Esposito's back, everybody. Kmart Rip Torn. Hard Rock Cafe talk. Boiling Kettle of Rage. Super American Idol. Darts, Dream a Little Dream singing, hamburger faces, sneezing, toilet banging, hair pulling, cocaine sniffing, body shaking, orifice scrambling, head exploding, face exploding, body exploding with blood showers. Billy Zane, this show's got everything.
I miss Billy Zane.
Yeah, Billy Zane was the big surprise.
When Billy Zane turns around in that chair, and I was just like, I don't know why I was so happy, but I was. I was just like, yes, yes.
I didn't even realize it was Billy Zane in the moment.
And he's hamming it up so hard, it's great.
Man.
It's so good.
He's got a sandwich in his mouth. It is fantastic.
So the boys seasons 1 and 2, I believe that we all like them quite well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we were really having a lot of fun with this show.
And it
I remembered that season 2 ended so well that I was kind of, for season 3, I was kind of apprehensive about it because, shows like this, they generally run out of steam when it comes to season 3, when they're so, like they're just so in your face that I was like, the only thing I was kind of looking forward to was to see what Jack Quaid was going to do this year, because Jack Quaid has now jumped up a level to where he's about to be a gigantic movie star.
And something else that had us concerned is they were talking spinoff.
Yes, and they still are.
Well, the spinoff was that animated Diabolical. So an animated spinoff doesn't dilute the property to me the same way a live action spinoff does. Maybe it's not fair to say that, but I was glad when the spinoff came out and was animated.
But they're still talking about it. There's
still talking live action spinoff as well.
Yeah, there's this live action spinoff that's still in the works.
I didn't know that.
Do we know of what specifically, or just something within the boys' universe?
They are keeping their mouths shut.
Oh, it's a Soldier Boy talk show.
We were really speculating in season 2 that was like the New Mutants Insane Asylum was going to be the spinoff. Remember how those people escaped from like...
Oh, yeah.
Right.
That never happened. Well, I guess
I'll tell you what, I was worried that I didn't remember enough about the first 2 seasons. Like, I don't know how long it's been since season 2.
It feels like a really long time, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I also feel like I drilled through it all, didn't like double watch the episodes or anything. And I was worried I wouldn't remember much about it. But then like the I don't know what do you call the little thing they show, like the previously on.
Yeah, the recap thing, which honestly I thought
it was good in my opinion.
It was, but it wasn't as overly explanatory as, say, the Obi-Wan rejoinder was, because that one was like 5 minutes.
I feel like this was one of the best recaps I've ever seen, which is crazy because I usually don't even think enough to comment on them, but it like totally triggered my memory, so I remembered everything I've seen, but it didn't feel like it was just a little too heavy-handed. Like whoever edited a recap has got to be a difficult thing to edit in the first place. Like you've only got a few minutes, you got to recap a lot of material, you got to choose wisely. Whoever edited this, like there needs to be some kind of like award for doing the best recap editing that's ever been done, because this was the first time in my life I've ever praised a recap.
It's amazingly difficult skill to really to hit home and everything. And like, because one of my projects that I'm currently doing right now is putting together a trailer for movies that my theater is going to end up showing, and there's like I need to get 5 movies across in like under a minute and a half, and like to do like just a narrative beginning, middle, and end, and do all of those things. It is so tough to do, to, you know, try to get everything that's, you know, hours and hours of stuff concise as to, you know, what, like probably 2 minutes here, maybe.
Yeah, it was a really, really well done recap.
But concise enough.
Well, listen, Eric Kripke, who's basically the showrunner of this thing, he comes from Supernatural. And I know that you guys haven't watched much of that show, but their recap of the previous season, like you don't even have to watch the previous season to know where they're at from season to season, which sometimes is great because you can skip entire seasons of that show.
So do you think that's why Jensen Ackles found his way on the show?
Well, undoubtedly, but there's you know, there's a lot of people from that show that are on this show now that, you know, they kind of just all moved over to The Boys. Cool. And whether you're a fan of Supernatural or not, and there's a couple of seasons where Supernatural is one of the best shows on TV for what that thing is.
Yeah.
And it looks like they learned from that experience, and then, you know, then they ran it into the ground like Letterman in the 2000s, where it's like he doesn't even want to be here anymore. He's still making the show, and that's what Supernatural felt like too.
So you think The Boys will also have 19 seasons?
I don't think so, but the only reason why I don't think so is because I think that there's other irons in their fire that they're going to keep working with that have nothing to do with The Boys.
Not for nothing, like the half of the stars that are stars of this show were already big enough stars to begin with and are only getting bigger as time goes by. And so it's going to be tougher to keep them as things go.
A 26 episode season of Supernatural is also like 3 seasons of The Boys.
That's fair.
So they'd have to go 60 seasons to equal Supernatural's episode count. I don't think they're going to do that.
That's okay. We have to come to grips with that. That's usually a good thing. And I think that's why, you know, The Boys, the first 2 seasons and stuff is as good as it is because you have a X amount of time for the show, and it's on a thing like Amazon, and we'll get into season 3 with this, is that you can get away with, I'm going to say anything.
Yeah.
I'm going to say anything that you would like to get away with. You probably can. You probably can.
About the only thing you can't do at this point, it seems like, is full-on penetration, and that's about it.
Or a fella at attention, I would say.
I think you could do either one of those things on Amazon Prime, but with the people working on these shows, their integrity is not going to allow that to happen. But I think Amazon Prime could put, let's just call it Skinamax level. Like, I'm not saying straight up hardcore, but I think they could put Skinamax level stuff on Amazon Prime, and it would be like nobody blink an eye, because nobody blinked an eye when Cinemax did it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, people stayed up late for that. Hey, what's this? And then it's usually never very good.
Yeah.
So I hear. We didn't have, we couldn't afford channels.
They could go Red Shoe Diaries, though, easily.
So the thing that I had a worker, someone at work tell me, mention The Boys, and it was just like, listen, I'm sorry, I know you haven't seen this first episode yet, but I have to talk about it. I have to talk about the moment. And I was just like, oh, okay. I'm like, I haven't seen it, but lay it on me. And it was as good as was advertised. And then when you see it, it's like, oh, this is
You're talking about the termite scene?
Yeah, the beginning scene, one of the early episodes in the party where we have a guy who's essentially Ant-Man, who is high on the cocaines, and amongst probably some other things. I was
going to say, something tells me there's what you call polysubstance abuse.
Yeah, there's a few things happening that's going on there, and it just gets weirder and weirder.
Well, you know what it reminded me of, Adam, is that scene from that Spanish movie. Remember, like, we had talked about this long before we had a podcast, where I was like, this might be the strangest movie I've ever seen. And you knew exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah. We mentioned it. And I think I had the best rejoinder line on that, because I think other people were in the group, and you could tell that they didn't know it, but I'm like, I know exactly what he's talking about. and so I dropped on him. I go, that's one way to walk into a girl. And and he laughed, and I was just like, all right, I'm on board with this guy.
The only thing I thought about with this termite scene was I thought about before Endgame came out and all the jokes about how to defeat
Ant-Man, right.
Ant-Man going up his butt and then getting big and exploding him.
100%.
That's what happened. Yeah. I mean, he went in as urethral meatus instead of his butt, but it's still the same concept. And that's all I thought, because, they're definitely taking stabs at pop culture here. I mean, you see all the Snyder stuff and the Snyder cut, the Bork cut. And even when they're doing it in the bathroom, she's like, whoever this universe's equivalent of Joss Whedon had to come in and finish directing the movie for you. Anyway.
Well, it's funny.
So
Tony Gilroy, who did all the
reference to the Thanos theory.
Yeah, Tony Gilroy did all the like the redone Bourne Legacy, the one without Damon, stuff like that, because Damon didn't want to work with him because Gilroy's a butthole.
Yeah,
but Gilroy makes some good stuff too, so I can't.
He does, but I mean, there's certain people you don't want to work with. I get it.
I don't want to work with Joss Whedon. I'm afraid he would touch my butt.
A lot of butt touching over there from the Whedon clan. I'll tell you that. I don't know how medically accurate it is, but I don't know that there's light coming from the other source. I know you need that. I know you need that for the presentation for the show. However, Mike, I'm just gonna guess just not a lot of light usually entering.
You know what? I think I'm with you on this one, Adam.
What can I say? I All right, let's move on. But again, so awesome to see, and I love the sneezing is what does it. It just kind of takes him out of it, because it kind of would be the thing. Like, I would imagine, I feel like we've heard somebody talk about this before. It's like kind of like flexing a muscle, staying like that kind of size or whatever, and you can only kind of do it for so long, and then eventually it just goes whoop, and then you're, back up to regular size.
I don't know. I flex my muscles continuously all day, every day.
He got one of those little strap-on things that kind of electrocutes you and makes your
yes,
makes your body tense up, and you just feel like.
I go to the gym. I lie on the couch and turn on the electricity.
I'm about to get super buff and develop a weird twitch I'll never get rid of for the rest of my life.
The modern version of that thing where you always see it in movies from the 20s with the belt. Yeah,
Boss Hog is what I picture with that belt thing on him.
I just need something to shake my butt a little bit while all the fat comes off. I guess that's how it worked in the 50s. I don't know. But I was kind of surprised that again, I'd forgotten how some of the stuff, some of the people were like Mother's Milk being kind of going away from everything, wanting to step away. But I like bringing in the fact that Soldier Boy had like killed his family, and we still, at least at 3 episodes in, don't know tons of details about that. But I like that as an angle, and I really like that character, and I like that actor a whole bunch. I don't know why. He's just got a good face.
He's
on
good.
him.
Guy, yeah,
he's great.
He's got like a certain lovability about him that no one else anywhere on this show has.
Yeah, you just
like,
you want person. You want good things to happen to him.
Yeah, he's the only person on this show at all that, like, I think, oh man, I'd like to give that person a hug. Like, there's no one else on this show that I want.
Everyone else is pretty scummy in a lot of ways.
Like even Starlight, who started off as sort of a person I thought was a safe protagonist, she's even getting like weird to me, man. I don't know.
So one of the things that I want to bring up, even though we might be doing this too early, is that the second that they mention Soldier Boy gets quote killed, end quote, by the Russians, and you don't see the body and you see the helicopter going away, my very first thought was, oh, they're going to make him Winter Soldier.
Man, it's so crazy that they're going to make Captain America into Winter Soldier.
Isn't it great? It's like, okay, sure.
Yeah, because I mean, he's, Homelander's their Superman, and Soldier Boy is clearly their Captain America. Right. And then Gunpowder, who's Bucky going to the NRA things, he kind of is the Winter Soldier with him really leaning into the weapons a whole lot.
I just thought it was, you don't get Jensen Ackles to play a character and then not
blow him up 2 seconds into the show.
Right.
Unless you're going really heavy on the flashbacks, which they could do. But
they could. But
I absolutely. Yes. I mean, the whole point is if we can find the weapon that killed Soldier Boy, we could use it to kill Homelander. But we're going to find out that's a MacGuffin. That weapon doesn't exist. But this V-24, on the other hand, is the thing that could potentially do it.
But to me, that's what's kind of the fun of it too. Is in that at this point they don't even really realize that yet, that that's not a thing that actually exists, and this guy is still there and stuff. And I the only thing that I kind of wish is that they leaned in more to the instead of going almost exactly what Captain America's kind of stuff is, I wish they would have leaned into Rob Liefeld's Captain America.
Oh, especially if they could get Jensen Ackles freakishly deformed to look like that.
That would be, I was like, dude, that'd be so cool to have the little eagle on top and everything, and just the same kind of just bull crap that he
If they
did.
could get that
So good.
ridiculously thick chest, like padded up with some crazy padding or something, that would have been great too.
I also love how he just like, maybe it's the design on purpose with the helmet and everything, but he looks so darn goofy in it.
But I think that's done with a reason.
Exactly.
Like, this is the only show basically where you can have poorly designed super suits and it looks correct.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, that's total Matt Salinger Captain America.
Yeah. And the other thing too is, how long do you think, how many episodes before Huey has to make the decision to take the serum? Like, it's his only chance to whatever.
You know, the serum is introduced so much earlier in the comics, but in the comics, I don't think this is a spoiler because I don't think the show will necessarily follow this trajectory. But in the comics, Butcher just grabs him and injects him when he's not looking because he doesn't want the serum. Mm-hmm. So Butcher gives it to him. And then we've already told the kids not to listen. But Huey's response is now he's worried he will rip off his own knob when he's having a wank. So that is how Garth Ennis had him respond to it.
That sounds very Ennis-esque.
And of course, Butcher said, if that could happen, I would have done that years ago. So
that sounds very Adam-esque.
Adam, by the way, I wanted to say, I'm always the one who's like lying in the weeds waiting for you to screw up. You did a really terrific job reading that email at the top of the show, and I never got a chance to tell you. You really did a good job on that.
Oh, well, thank you.
So they're setting up. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to just step all over your compliment, Adam. Maybe it's like Freudian. Like I can't have Adam get.
Somebody's getting complimented and it's not me. Let's move on.
Smack him back down.
I need to keep Adam restrained. Like I gotta have the mental restraint.
Don't let him get an ego
Like
over
Vought
reading
on
one
Homelander.
email.
You did good, is all I'm saying.
Yes.
There's no part 2 where I'm setting you up for the kill. You really did a good job on that.
So they've already mentioned that, like, this team that used to have Soldier Boy, they've called them a B-level team or second stringers. You know, they're not like top notch anymore. So I think they're really setting us up for that equivalent of Teenage Kicks confrontation we have.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I really do think they're setting us up for that because they've introduced the serum. They've introduced the B-level team. They've already started to confront the Crimson Lady or whatever her name is, the Scarlet Witch. Mm-hmm. Basically, like I like to call them what they really are. So what I'm wondering is our season finale or maybe the penultimate episode going to be that battle? And will they go for the gerbil gag? I mean, I didn't think that this show would necessarily go for the gerbil gag, but after what they did with Termite, I think the gerbil gag's back on the table.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that would almost seem tame.
Yeah, it's like an easy layup at this point.
It's just like, a gerbil exited. Okay, I mean, I guess.
And did you see the bulldog cookie jar?
Yes.
Yeah.
With the little,
so in the comics, that is an actual bulldog named Terror that is Butcher's pet, and he trains it to hump the dogs of people he doesn't like, mm-hmm. which is weird. And he also does a little chopper sick balls thing with the dog too. But I thought it was nice to see an homage to Terror here because I was kind of hoping maybe we would actually get Terror, but I guess we just get the cookie jar.
I love how this season so far, it really is all just a play on power of all types. And how everybody, no matter who they are, all the way from, your horrible person like Homelander to all the way down to Starlight, no matter what it is, and they're all kind of going for different things, but everybody is in one way, shape, or form chasing after some sort of power.
Now, the one thing I want to say too is like children's beauty pageants or whatever are always creepy, but for some reason it gets just a little bit creepier when they're restricted to people with superpowers also. Cause like that flashback to young Starlight singing Britney Spears, that just felt so like sleazy to me.
I
And
couldn't.
so
definitely did.
I can't watch the screen when that's going on. It's just
It
like,
definitely did.
you get weird icks, and it's like, nuh-uh.
But Adam, let's go back to your point here, which is that this whole show is basically just a treatise on power. When they get to, when you see that there's basically only one person now who can tell Homelander what to do, and it's Giancarlo Esposito. Mm-hmm. It's kind of it feels tenuous at this point, which it didn't last year, where it really does feel like, oh, we're one step away from Homelander, like killing him as well. And there's a new version of like tension that's coming from that, where they're kind of playing on that this year, which all the tension last year came from, the horrible political landscape of the United States.
Yes, I'm going to put a pin in that. I'm going to circle back to that.
But now there's the new tension seems to be coming from the fact that like Giancarlo Esposito is basically the only thing keeping Homelander in check at this point, and that's almost over too. And it's an overwhelming, like it's almost like low level stress watching this show that's eventually going to happen to me anyway.
Now, something that felt like you could tell that this production started a while back, particularly the writing started a while back, but you were talking about last season really got into the zeitgeist of the political environment there and the conversations going on and Seth Rogen's feelings about it perhaps. Mm-hmm. But then we have this scene where Homelander kind of cracks up on TV and tells them like, if they can control me, then they can control you. And he kind of makes me think of the senator on Watchmen who says the most discriminated against person in America now is a white man. Like it felt like it would have gone really well in 2018, but in 2022, we've already done that. We've already been there. We've kind of moved past that narrative. So that is one part where suddenly he's being beloved for being the white guy who's willing to speak up against wokeness, basically. I feel maybe that's a couple years past when it really would have hit home.
But I will tell you that I think that they're ratcheting that up as a front for him getting to a point where like they're kind of playing on expectations with that kind of thing, where the movie Falling Down. Have you ever seen that movie?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Where at the beginning of that movie, there was an angry white man thing happening at the beginning of that movie where like a bunch of angry white guys watched that movie and were like, yes, absolutely. Oh man. Yeah. I've always wanted to do that. Oh yeah. And then as you keep going on with that movie, you're like, oh, this man's insane.
It's like, no, that's going beyond just a little bit of like,
Douglas
I say
himself recognizes it when he's in the Army Navy store and the guy goes, yeah, me and you, we're the same.
Right.
We were both sick of the gays and the blacks. And he's like, no, we're not the same. So even within the movie, he realizes like, oh, I'm becoming an icon to people I don't mean to be an icon to. So even within the movie, they address that.
No.
And I think that that's what's going to end up happening with Homelander here is that there's going to be like this like whole thing about how, he says it like it is and blah, blah, blah. And they're going to flip this because they did all of this with the last season, where it was about how horrible the American political landscape is. And I think that they're playing on that emotion right now. Like we're like, look, we know that you don't want to hear this. So what we're actually doing is we're going to have everyone horrified by something Homelander does out in public, and everybody's going to turn on him. And then he's really going to go crazy is what I think.
Well,
yeah. I also think they're really trying to build up ill will so that we revel in his downfall.
Yes.
And something else I think is if you can create V24, and this is comic book logic here, but if you can create V24, you can reverse the polarity, so to speak.
Yes.
And create anti-V24 so that they can like say, hey, we got this stuff. We give it to Homelander. He loses his powers for 60 seconds. Like it's not going to be 24 hours because that doesn't give us the ticking clock that's interesting. But they'll probably do a thing where like we give him this, kind of like, Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, where he causes the sun to go out for 20 minutes so they can stomp down on Superman or whatever. But anyway, I think they're going to do an anti-V thing at some point. I think that's what they're introducing the V24, and they really want to make us get to a point where we revel in his downfall.
I believe you are right.
At the same time, too, though, like there are moments, and they've done it previous season, but they did it this season as well, where there's tiny bits of humanity that can come out of Homelander in times of which you might not necessarily guess that that's where they're coming from. Because when he's with Stormfront there and everything, she's like, listen, we'll have the best Aryan race and all this other stuff. And even that, he goes like, whoa. I'm not that. Like, I'm the one. I think that clues us into what Sean's saying, that I'm not like buying into, but I think you're making a good argument in favor of Sean's point of view, because he's showing that he doesn't want to be a master race. He's selfish. He's not racist. Right. He's power hungry. He's power hungry. He wants everything. Being
selfish can make you appear racist, but you actually are just a narcissist who wants to hold everybody down, not just one race, but everybody who's not.
And I think that's who Homelander is, from what we've kind of seen his character presented to us, as somebody who just goes. And again, it has a little bit of that Magneto, human superior kind of thing.
I don't know. I love Magneto and I hate Homelander. So
well, I'm just saying, from a guy who believes that, like, hey, we're top of the food chain and everybody else should be groveling underneath me. Homelander thinks that exact same thing.
So you think Homelander is the kind of guy that tells it like it is, right, Adam? Like, you're 100% pro Homelander.
Listen, I'm more about the hair dye than anything else.
And it's that classic thing where the worst villains in the movie are like the nicest guys in real life, because the New Zealand actor who plays Homelander is, by all accounts, just a wonderful person.
And the cutest part is look at all the behind the scenes photos. The guy's a little tiny, so he's got to have these big old platform boots on, and it's so cute. Oh, it's adorable.
I'll tell you some stuff off air.
And meanwhile, behind the scenes, the biggest jerk in history, Emmanuel Lewis, who seems so sweet on screen. I was just joking. Don't sue me if you're Emmanuel Lewis's people. I love Webster.
Who doesn't, ma'am? One of my favorite shows ever.
So I kind of feel like they're trying real hard to give storylines to characters that they didn't support enough in the first two seasons for us to keep caring about them.
Let's talk about it.
Okay, because I'm in with Mother's Milk, I'm in with Butcher, I'm in with Huey. But Frenchie and the female, they did not give them the kind of character support in the first two seasons to make me like I thought that maybe the female was not even going to be part of the team anymore this year. So when we're spending time with her, that's time I wish we were spending doing something else. Not the actor's fault, but the writer's fault.
Right. I will say that I think that of all the characters on the show, you're gonna need you need to balance out the horribleness of these people from my perspective, right? Like I can't watch the show Succession because there's not a single person on that show that's a good person. Like I get that there's people who love that kind of thing. I hate it. Like I need somebody to root for.
I agree.
And so, Mother's Milk is definitely that person on this show that you can totally root for him. But the other person is the female. You can root for her as well, because she's an innocent basically on this show. Like she's going to murder some folk, but it's almost not her own doing that's happening.
She kind of has to do those things in order to survive, but It is something that she's not like Butcher and going after it.
Are you guys, is it fair to say you guys are at least knowledgeable in Firefly?
Oh yeah.
I'm aware of the program.
Yeah. Okay. I love that show. Yes.
Because the female to me feels like another River Tam who they're not building my connection with the way that I had with River.
I see.
And I mean, the female of the species in the comics is a little bit more mysterious, and also equally one note, just somebody that comes in and it's like she looks small, and a small, cute, innocent Asian lady who comes in and she can just rip the face off of anyone. And she's kind of a one-trick pony. And here, it's like they try to build a story with her, but they don't get me engaged. I feel like they kind of almost had it complete at the end of season 2. And I was surprised she was still here, with the whole brother thing and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, I really felt like like I really feel like her and Frenchie could leave the cast and it wouldn't detract on the quality of the show, because they're trying to give us this thing with Frenchie and his ex, and he's off trying to do stuff, and I just really don't care much about what happens to Frenchie. And then Akiko had that dream sequence where suddenly she's singing, and I didn't realize it was a dream sequence, and I suddenly
that
thought,
was
like,
a dream. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, oh, she went from never talking to now she's not going to shut up.
I thought she was just going to do everything in singing at this point, which a part of me was kind of like, all right, I'm game for this. What kind of weird stuff you're pulling now? Let's do it.
How like soap operas, when they have to recast a role when the episode starts, they say, in this episode, the role of Jack McBray will be played by actor Bray McJack. They would do something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for him to say, in this episode, the role of the female will be played by Zooey Deschanel. And she starts singing everything.
Or it's like, Plan 9 from Outer Space and Bela Lugosi, and she just comes in and she's just holding the thing over her face the entire time.
That'd be even better. For some reason, Zooey Deschanel replaces this Asian actor, and she just holds a cape over her face and hopes we don't recognize that those bangs are.
And we hear a lot of.
I'm just over the moon that you just name check Jack McBrayer. Gee, Mr. Donaghy, I sure love television.
It's the only character I know that went to college at the only college in my hometown of Jackson, Kentucky, which is Kentucky Mountain Bible College. So that's why I like that character.
There was an innocence to Kenneth, for sure, that just made you love him so much.
And I mean, I'm telling you, like, I didn't think anybody even knew Kentucky Mountain Bible College existed. When I found out that's where he went to school, it was like, I'm done. I stand Kenneth.
As we
I got some stories for you off there.
See, this is why the Dingers post shows all that kind of good stuff. That's why Patreon people. But so here's the thing. Okay, let's talk about the Deep coming back, because we all hated the Deep in season 1 because obviously he was a scumbag piece of crap, and he still is a scumbag piece of crap. But boy, he's he's that entertaining scumbag piece of crap now.
and I also love that they, I thought this is clearly a Scientology thing, but they've decided to take a lot of popular cults and roll them into one with that cult that he escaped. Like, I love it that they say he's the new Lear Remini, which is great. But then also he talks about how he, not his wife, but he had to get branded down by his junk, which is what Nexium was doing to ladies. Yeah. And I like it. So they're pulling Nexium into it. I'm hoping that they drop like more cultish, because, I got my fascination with cults. So I'm hoping they drop a few more like extreme cult behaviors into this as the season goes on.
And I didn't realize it until this season, just how much the Deep looks like the actor who plays the Deep looks like the actor who plays Iceman in the X-Men movies.
It's got a little of that. I can
Bobby
see that.
Drake. Yeah. Man, for some reason I thought he looked a little bit like a non-Hispanic version of the guy that played Batman on and he played like the mayor of Gotham City in the Nolan Batman movies.
He's just his white counterpart.
If you put a little eyeliner on the Deep, and he looks like that guy.
Listen, I'll see that.
The Deep stuff is the stuff that nothing makes me cringe more than the stuff that happens with the Deep on the show. For some reason, it is the worst. It is the worst.
It's this weird combination of he's a horrible person who deserves every bad thing to happen to him. But then it's like, man, but that is so bad what's happening to him.
Oh, my God, man.
It's like when he had to eat his friend. Oh, crap.
Oh, my
and the
Lord.
fact that his wife made him do it.
Oh, my Lord.
And that he actually did it. Oh, that is one of the most disturbing things I've ever had to watch.
As the squid is in his mouth, he just goes, he's bargaining or whatever. It's like he's begging for his life.
It is so hard to watch. It is
a guy who loves to eat both octopus and squid whenever I get the chance. That was a heartbreaking. I don't eat them when they're alive.
Yeah, it was the most awkward thing because you just
God.
didn't give you that kind of like vegetarian at the barbecue kind of feeling to where you're looking around going like, oh boy, this has got to be wildly uncomfortable.
Even if it was already dead and like grilled or deep fried as calamari or something, then you're like, well, it's already dead, so might as well eat it. But when it's still alive and he can talk to it, and like the sadism involved with that is why I don't think that Homelander's going to have that redeemable turn maybe that we're talking about.
No, there's definitely not going to be a redeemable turn with him. What they're really, really banking on is we're going to have him be the worst human being in the world. So when he gets his, we're all going to be like, yes.
Yeah. Well, what we're thinking of is here's the actual term of events. Homelander is Homelander for all of this time. Then it comes to a point where they really need him to, something with Soldier Boy, blah, 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 whatever. There's got to be a point where he turns and we think, oh my God, you know what? We've been misjudging Homelander this entire time. Feels like he might be able to, but oh no, he's just screwed us over, and it's even worse now. That's what I think is going to happen.
And I do think they're going to give us something with Soldier Boy where it's like, these are two people we absolutely hate and we want to see them punish each other. And we're probably going to get a little satisfaction there. But I think they're building us up for it's like tantric. They're going to edge us until they finally do something bad to Homelander so that we just get so much joy out of it when it happens.
A couple other things. The Black Noir origin story. I kind of love it.
And they've so leaned into, like, I mean, obviously you look at the costume design and they've leaned more into Snake Eyes than Batman, because in the comics, he's obviously Batman. But here they've really leaned into Snake Eyes, and then they go with the origin story where he's in a military scenario and his face gets burned and all that. And I'm like, wow, they really are going into Snake Eyes here.
And I love that he was just like the character moment before of somebody who wanted to be out there, who wanted to, unmask and, make his presence known and everything. And of course, now that, he's hideously disfigured, the last thing he wants to do is show his face to anybody. So that's why we have that Noir who's always keeping it on, never saying a word. It's great.
And I've got to pay more attention to his costume, because I saw my first ever Black Noir action figure yesterday, and it's got like a humorously large codpiece on the action figure, and I've never paid attention in the show, but I got to see if that's been there the whole time.
Man, what if that's in his writer?
It'll definitely be in mine if
I will take a pay cut, but my action figure, huge codpiece.
I won't do it unless I can stuff my shorts with a cantaloupe.
So I didn't realize there's only 8 episodes this season.
I think that's good.
I do too.
Was that the other ones, or were there 10 in those?
It feels like there were 10. Maybe there were just 8.
There were 8 in season 2 and 8 in season 1.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Okay. It's 8 per season. I just happen to be looking at the episode list. So we're up to 19 total episodes with episode 3. So there were 16 before this season.
Okay. What's the deal? What do you think is the deal with the guy in the Super Idol auditions here and everything that's talking with Starlight? What's this guy's deal? I'm not sure I've caught a grasp onto what this. I mean, he's not just there to make Huey jealous. Got to be something else.
I thought maybe he's kind of just there to make Huey jealous, to further expose the hypocrisy of the superhero world, that even though he's not the best option, the Muslim lady's the best option, he's the one that tests, because it's like with American Idol or America's Got Talent or whatever. They're not picking the one who's the most talented performer. They're picking the one who seems to be most popular.
They're also going to murder him real good.
Yeah. And it also, it's kind of interesting because they're talking about how everybody's going to ship him with Starlight, and then with the whole stunt that Homelander pulls, and Starlight is his girl, and meanwhile Huey already feeling a little insecure. It could get Huey to hate Homelander just as much as Butcher does. Like, this could be the thing to cause the reconciliation that Butcher and Huey need to get the boys back together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the only other character that we didn't really kind of touched on is the what I'll call Scanner's lady. Who
I think we did touch on her a little bit,
but that's the one that
we found out she's not who she claims to be, and there are people who know she's not who she claims to be, and she comes from what I'm going to say is the boys' equivalent of Dr. Brenner's Stranger Things underground lab that 11 was raised in.
Yeah.
And she really had kind of escaped this thing, but now she's being exposed and she's worried. And then we find out that even though she's politically acting as if she's to bring down Vought, she's actually friends with Vought. So that's also making a bit of a political commentary that I think works more in our current environment than the Homelander and the Stormlight stuff does now, where it's like you get behind somebody who you think is going to change things and you find out they don't really want to change things.
Yeah,
they just want to give you the illusion that they're trying to change
exactly.
things.
And they show the same thing with Vought World and everything about how like it's all Pride Month and everything, and how that clearly means nothing to these people and that they're clearly just doing it for a buck.
Also, the fact that that is going to be another thing to help Huey get back to the boys, because he's trying to do it the right way, and he's getting more and more disillusioned with this lady.
I mean, when you see her blow up a vagrant's head and stuff like that in his entire body, you'll start
to... It wasn't a vagrant. It was a super strong guy,
you know what I mean.
Super stronger to death. And I like it that it's not just head. She was blowing up his hands, and like she can blow up any body part. The head's just the quickest way to
that
solve
was
them,
like
really.
So cool. The one hand explodes. He's still fighting hard with the second one, and not even a full head explosion, but just the bottom where the jaw is and everything. Oh, love it.
Oh, man.
And you know, there's the age-old question, if you could have any superpower, what would it be? And I've always had different answers. From now on, it's head exploding. Like, I want to be able to make people's heads explode and they don't know who did it. Like, I don't want to punch someone and make their head explode. I want to just from a distance make their head explode. Nobody knows what the heck's going on.
See, you gotta,
man, forget Magneto. Bruce with exploding head powers. That is what we'll make the
you got to
world
get
better.
really good at that Pikachu surprise face. You know what I'm talking about? That little deal. You need to get good at that around people.
No, here's what I'll do. Oh no, another head exploded.
Who'd have thought any of this was? Surely the person behind this is maniacal and handsome and charismatic.
I am so traumatized. Every time I go to a public place, a head explodes.
Why does
me,
this seem
God?
to follow me? And me alone. It makes no sense. All right, before we get to, I don't know do you want to rate this thing, or do we just want to talk about coming back and for additional?
We might as well
Do we
just
want to
talk about
A-Train just real quickly?
Oh,
Do we want
yeah,
to
sure.
trying to lean into his African heritage?
Yes. I like how disingenuous it is and how much his family gives him crap for it. That
like,
part is amazing.
You ain't had
Plus,
nothing to
I
do
love
with
the idea that A-Train no longer has superpowers, but he's trying to fake it. Like he cannot run fast anymore, but he's like, it really makes me think of like some professional athletes who just can't cut it, but they're trying to find other ways to stay in the game, you know,
right? Like an old pitcher.
Yeah. And it's like, I think maybe during the third Michael Jackson trial, like he had so many trials, but at some point he finally decided he was going to say like he's a victim of racism, when he spent a lot of his life trying to deny maybe his heritage. I don't know what the right way to say it is, but it was like, this doesn't feel real genuine, that Michael Jackson suddenly embracing a part of himself that doesn't seem to line up with his previous activities. And with A-Train suddenly, you know, making this turn where people are like, you never cared about this before. Why now? Well, it's because he doesn't have any powers.
I got nowhere else to go with this and stuff. And I the more desperate that character that gets, the more I find it interesting.
Kind of makes me, in a weird way, think of Kevin Spacey when people said, you know, he was accused of, you know, an inappropriate relationship with an underage person. And he says, yes, I have to admit it's true. I am gay.
Yeah.
It's like, wait.
That's not the problem we have.
The wrong thing, buddy. You're not being targeted because of that.
I like how for a couple of years, every Christmas, he would come out with that video where it was like him threatening everyone.
Still in the character from the show, which is odd. And like, why are you doing
this? Happened for 2 years straight. Happened 2 years straight. Didn't happen this last Christmas, unfortunately. I was looking forward to it. Almost like it was like the Charlie Brown Christmas special. Let's see what old Spacey's up to this year.
Well, I've cooked up another humdinger for you this year.
Oh, you thought I was out and down for the count.
Turns out you're full of crap, and I am the best there ever was. Oh.
I've got a butcher knife in my hand, and I keep pointing it at the camera.
Just to let you know, you're
all I can think is the episode when he went to Gaffney and looked at the giant peach.
It's a landmark for a reason.
It's 100% real, people. It looks like a big butt.
It does.
Well, before we get to the final bit here and everything, we do have to ask ourselves, how in the world does The Boys relate back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone?
Thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement, but before that prepared statement, I would like to say how wonderful it is to be out of anime and how much easier my life has gotten.
Oh, my.
What are you talking about?
Hello, Mr. Stallone. Seth Rogen is one of the executive producers on The Boys, and in February of 2022, Seth Rogen went on the Jimmy Kimmel Show and recounted at a time he met you IRL. It was at the opening of a Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas, so clearly this was a very old story. And at this point, I'm going to let Seth Rogen speak for himself. He said on the Jimmy Kimmel Show, quote, I remember meeting him and he shook my hand, and in the deepest, rumbliest voice I've ever heard, he said, I'm Sylvester. And at that moment, I remember thinking, I've never met another human name. I've never met another human with the name Sylvester, end quote. It weirded him out because the name Sylvester Stallone sounds normal, Sylvester Stallone. And that's something that everyone's grown up with. But when you meet someone and they say that their name is Sylvester and only Sylvester, it takes you back because the only other Sylvester you grow up knowing is the Looney Tunes character. And if I'm being honest, it's the kind of story you're used to hearing on a late night talk show where super famous, wealthy people want you to think that they're normal people just like you when they really aren't. If Seth Rogen was any other person and didn't get some huge breaks in his life, he'd be working at some hipster boutique video store, judging you for the movies you had chosen to watch and laughing that laugh of his the second you walked out the video store. Now, okay, maybe I hold some residual anger for the time he made fun of us for having a podcast about his terrible preacher show. Maybe I'm the one with the problem and I've been waiting for the right moment to strike back to get some petty revenge. And maybe, just maybe, I should think about the fact that the guy knew we had a podcast is in of itself something to be proud of. Well, that's it, Mr. Stallone. Sorry for making it about me this week and nearly every other week. I hope to hear from you soon. Your pal, the sweet Chauncey from the internet.
And as always, tweet out your love to Sylvester Stallone. Let him know that this thing is a thing that exists and that we love him very much, and we'd like him just to know that we're here, if ever he would like to stop on by. Well, so with 8 episodes here, we got 5 episodes left. What do you want to do? One more of these at some point once they're all out, or do we want to maybe split them up into 2? What do you think, Chris?
I think we just wrap it up at the end.
You just want to wrap it up, but then all right. So you've gotten a couple of tastes here of what we've thought of season 3 of The Boys, and if you'd like to find out what we think of the latter half of the season, why don't you stay subscribed to this here program, because we do this show every week. We've been doing it every week except for one of those weeks, but for 8 years. It's been a great run here and everything.
Not bad, missing 1 week out of 8 years.
Yeah, it's not too shabby, and it's all because of you fine folks and all of your support, listening to the show, reviewing us on iTunes, and of course supporting the show over at patreon.com/HMP. And again, we'd like to thank all of you fine folks for that. Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I'd love for people to check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/C/Bruce Leslie. You can also just kind of search for Anime Dad. You'll find it. But you should go see this great video that got Adam to chuckle, where I'm trying to be John Wick.
It's glorious, people. Just follow the link in the show notes. Sean, what else?
We have a show that we call Obi-Wan 30 Questions, where every week we ask 30 questions about the newest episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we have another new episode coming out. So if you haven't heard it yet and you've been watching Obi-Wan, you might want to check that out.
Yeah, and speaking of Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan has come out, and because of, us not doing The Boys Season 3 30 questions, because we're doing Obi-Wan 30 questions, again, because there'd be just way too much stuff for us to do, we're not going to be doing Miss Marvel 30 questions. However, just like The Boys Season 3, that doesn't mean that we're going to not watch any of it. So we're going to jump in the new Miss Marvel that is out on Disney Plus next week. So, very interesting. We are not necessarily the key audience for that, so we figured, hey, it's going to be strange going back 30 questions every week going by, hey, these kids in like high school, what are they doing and stuff? It'd be like really weird for guys in their 40s just talking about that week after week. So we'll do like, The Boys and have like 2 episodes. We'll talk about it and have a good time.
But I thought her panda hat was really cute.
Yeah, I those kicks are sweet, man. No.
Hello, fellow teens.
Exactly. No, thank you. But we will be talking about Miss Marvel next week. That'll do it, everybody. For Sweet Sean's and Kovacs from the internet, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Fortress. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.
Say it was the right time to walk away, but dreaming takes you long.